Welcome to another episode of More Than Dice. I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
And we're on episode 247. Today is going to be about social gaming contracts and you. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get to all the cool business. We want to thank Muse on Minis for hosting all of our files and getting it out to everybody. So everybody can find us on every one of the platforms, on every single one of the networks. And there, thank you for the...
Shameless self-promotion.
We want to thank Turbo Dork, of course, for sponsoring the podcast and actually having a good time with us. We will be getting some more stuff to give away from them pretty soon. We want to thank Midnight Heroes. We will be having Brian on the show pretty soon. He has a new Kickstarter coming out, and he is actually going to be sending us some models to paint on air that are part of the Kickstarter. He was like, hey, can you paint some of these on your podcast? I'm like, sure. When can I have you on so you can talk about your Kickstarter? And he goes, soon. I'm like, okay, let's set a date down.
When will then be now?
Yeah.
Soon.
We want to thank Parabellum War Games. If you like their models, you like playing Conquest, make sure you use the discount code and get a discount on everything that you purchase from them. And we can't wait to see them at Adepticon because they're going to be there in mass. They were a big hit last year. I'm sure they'll be a big hit this year. We also want to thank, who else? I think that's it. Did I get everybody? Midnight Heroes, Turbo Dork, Parabellum.
You didn't say Turbo Dork, but you just did.
Oh, Turbo Dork. I thought I did. We'll be getting stuff from them. And of course, we got Muse. But guys, if you like any of the products from any of these companies, make sure you use the discount code. You usually get 10 to 15% off anything that you purchase. So other than that, John, you got any shout outs this week?
Legion's putting them in there. I don't.
Man, Legionnaires on the ball.
Yeah.
Fredla Marmorti?
The groundhog. The Canadian groundhog that dropped dead.
Oh. I was like,
I think that's who that is. Is that right? Because that's a weird name. But go ahead and read the other ones.
We have Butch Miles, American jazz drummer. Tim Quay, a British musician. Al Swartzer Jr., which was he was 101. Holy crap! American cartoonist and illustrator. I also had Melinda Dillon. She was in Close Encounters of the Third Time and A Christmas Story. She was 83 when she passed away.
Oh.
So that was the only thing. Those are the only ones I knew. Guys, if you have anybody else, we want to thank Annie Waring. Excuse me, I feel like I was going back to burp. We appreciate you sending and saying anything. Wershing. If I butcher her name, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. She was in Picard too, wasn't she?
Oh, yes, she was Borg. She was also the voice actress.
She was young too.
For The Last of Us. A test for The Last of Us, I believe, is where people started getting her notoriety coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, she was younger than I am now.
Yeah.
It's a little concerning. Well, we say it. Fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer. Everybody else say it too. And then let's see. If you know anybody else needs a shout out, it doesn't have to be a death. It can be anything. Someone does something really cool.
Yeah,
It could be anything.
Can we do a shout out to the first air-to-air kill for a F-22 Raptor of a Chinese balloon? Lighten it up a little bit there.
I bet you that pilot was like, finally! But it's a fucking balloon.
Well, the funny thing is, not to go too far tangent on that, 3 of those balloons came across the U.S. during Trump's presidency, and it wasn't even a big fucking deal, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
They have satellites that can see that shit. I don't know what the fuck is... Anyways.
Yeah. But still.
You
know that pilot was like...
Yes, finally I get to shoot something.
It's a balloon, but I'm going to take it as a win.
Yep. Fire up this anti-balloon missile and go.
Anti-balloon missile.
I'm pretty sure that's all missiles, by the way.
But and that actually was pretty big news until it got shut down. And be like, okay, we're done.
Yeah,
So.
I mean,
But like I said, if you have anybody you want to shout out, anybody you want to, even local, doesn't have to be, big name people. Don't care. We'll just like give shout outs to people. Other than that, let's get to the real business, John.
the hard-hitting questions.
The hard-hitting
that affect
questions.
Our life.
Affect everybody's life. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Code Fireball.
Did you measure it out correctly?
I did.
And what's the measurement for a Code Fireball?
Well, generally you can use 2 giant ice cubes, and then you can use 4 ounces of Fireball, and then 20 ounces of Code Red.
All right, everybody write that down. All right, everybody's got it written down. I am having a few shots of Maker's Mark. So that's what I'm going with today. It's my good old fallback to drinking, and I don't measure it. I just, yep, that looks enough.
Legionnaires, if you can't math anymore, you're too drunk to fucking drink. That's my rules.
Guys, we appreciate you coming out. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching. As always, please take care of yourself. If you see something, say something. Please take care of everybody else around you. If you need anybody to talk to, hang out with, do things with, give us a ring, send us a message. We'll hang out. We'll jump on and, do whatever. It's kind of, our thing. We kind of get into that. So, cheers to everybody.
Cheers.
All right, so before we get into the subject, and we can talk about that, but John's going to show some MechWarrior stuff, so he's going to switch his camera over. Or not MechWarrior, Battletech. I apologize.
There is a slight difference between the two of them.
Correct.
1 second. Shock. Skype is being a bitch.
It'll take a minute, but
No, it's actively being a bitch.
I'm going to open up so we can get a better view of what he's going to be showing us. Takes a second for the camera to go over, but he has some new Battletech stuff that he wanted to show and get everybody kind of excited, because not only is it cool new models, but of course the new Kickstarter's coming out pretty soon.
Trying to get it back to good centered.
That's
All
good.
Right. So some of this is not super new stuff, but since the turn my microphone towards me a little more just in case. But since that Humble Bundle came out, I think it was December, November, whatever, and Catalyst Games Labs just got their restock of Battletech beginner boxes.
Yay!
I got that in finally. So they're there. And this is just like the old one I had. Looks much like this. So the only difference is this is new fiction. I believe these are new too. These are really cool. These really cool cards. And then it comes with a griffin, just like the other set did. Which is, I'm going to pull this off just so it's easier to see, because I know where to do it. So it's a cool model. I think it's pretty much the same pose as the other one. I have to find where I put the other one, but I'm pretty sure it's just about the same pose. And then, more importantly, it comes with a Vindicator, which you can only get in there, which is a brand new model. And it's not like a bad price either. It's like $25 retail, but I mean, obviously, I guess it's part of the Humble Bundle, so it was a great price. Standard quality on all these. In fact, actually, I feel like they're a little cleaner as far as overall compared to the other models. So.
You can definitely tell a difference between the older and the newer stuff. It is 100%. You can look at them and go, "Oh, this is an older sculpt."
Yep. We just close the box up here. And then, I'm doing part of this because I got them. They're cool. In part because it's actually even like a reminder to you guys that this stuff came out. So this is a Barnes & Noble exclusive. You can get it theoretically in their stores, but also online, which is where I got it. It's already shipping.
What models come in there?
I'm going to open it up and show you.
Yeah, sweet.
Because they all come with reposes / resculpts of 3 models and then a brand new 4th model. So
Okay.
this has got a Sagittaire, which is a brand new model.
Okay.
Then you've got a resculpt of the Banshee. Repose, sorry. It's the same sculpt, just posed differently. Then a resculpt of the Cyclops.
Okay.
And then the one I want to show off mostly is this Thunderbolt that's jumping. So it's a jump jet variant.
Nice.
Now, that's cool enough, but what if you don't want to use the jump jet one?
I don't know. Nah,
take
that's
off
legit.
And then I wasn't sure we're going to fit on here, but the holes are different size and the feet are. And then you end up with a fucking awesome running pose.
Nice.
Yeah. You just have to fill those in if you're going to keep it as that. That's not a big deal. Look. But
Interesting.
just got to make sure I get together. And it's really stable. Actually, I was really impressed because these are really long to fit in there. So I was pleased with that. Like, pleasantly surprised about how cool that is. 'Cause I'm like, not everyone is going to want to paint that. Like, painting Thrustinol it's a fucking thing. Almost doubling the amount of work you put in a model for that. Then, also, so they have 3 new other box sets coming out. Each one's available through a different distributor. I have 2 of them on order, and the other one I should get a notification when it's available. I'll keep looking. This one I unfortunately ordered twice. I thought I was getting all 3, and I got this one twice from different places, so not a big deal, but it has... This is not actually a repose atlas. This is actually just a resculpt because it looks chunkier than the other one. I'm very pleased with how chunky and big this guy looks. It's got another enforcer. I think this is just a repose. I have to check my other enforcer. Brand new is the, all jokes aside, penetrator here.
Penetrator.
It's cool. And now this is what made me realize you could do that with the Thunderbolt. Because I'm like, wow, it's weird that the Hunchback came like that, but the Thunderbolt didn't. The Hunchback comes like this separately, but you can pull him off his base. And then you can put that on, and then actually it's got 2 places. They plug in here, and then also you've got these sort of fins on the back that fit in there to make it more stable.
The Hatchet Man?
Yeah, Hatchet Man. There you go. It's not quite as cool of a pose. It's much more of a standing pose, but it works if you want to do that. As I have 2 other Hatchet Men. One's sort of in progress right now. You know, I might take this and do the jumping pose with it. But very cool. And like I said, there are 2 more box sets coming out. I will show those off when those come out as well. Have to get the one ordered. The other one's ordered, just waiting for it to come in stock. You know, they'll let me pre-order. But yeah, so in this day and age, we expect all this notifications of what's coming out to be fed to us, sort of. But we have to remember that sometimes you need to go looking for that yourself. That was on their blog, on their website, and a lot of times we'll miss, we'll not go on their website directly. And we should, just because you might miss something like that. Now, granted, they're not making any of these limited. It's just only certain distributors get the I forget which is which. It's on their website. But only certain distributors get certain packs. There's 3 different packs, but they'll be available for a while. And the Barnes & Noble one is only Barnes & Noble exclusive for a couple months.
Oh, okay. So even if it's an exclusive model, it's just going to take a while to come out.
But overall, that is good for Battletech because the Wolf's Dragoon one that was last year around Christmas, no, year before, it was a while ago. That one actually sold well enough that Barnes & Noble actually stocks Battletech in a lot of their stores now.
Oh, yeah.
And online. So that has done great. And if you guys are inclined to purchase it, I recall the shipping not being bad. Do so online. Let them realize, hey, yes, this is another avenue we want to support because it'll get more people in because that is how a lot of us found Battletech in the first place in fucking bookstores.
No.
Yeah, what is that crap?
These are all the magnetized arms and weapons for Orgoth battle box. Orgoth Warjacks.
Oh,
But here's the Hunchback 2C. So we got to paint him up. So I'm going to paint him up real quick.
I'm gonna say 100% with this one. You got to paint one of the hunches black.
Think I should paint like well, it would be the right side one black if I was going to do anything.
Correct. You always want to paint the right one.
Not the wrong one.
Correct. But yes, the right side one would be the one I would choose. Just because, I mean, it's going to look so much more dynamic that way.
$20.
No. For that money, I'll just paint one my fucking self. In your paint scheme, even.
My paint scheme is so awesome that nobody can copy it.
Uh-huh. I actually own the colors to copy it because I picked up the contrast red because it looks so good there at the fucking store when I was there.
Oh yeah, it's a good.
I also picked up the contrast yellow to try on my guys, and it turned out it doesn't hit right. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The painting the moldy ochre and then doing the sepia wash over it hits better, but I need to do a little better work with the deeper crevices prior to. It got a little rough, so. But I'm still doing quasi-test models. I mean, they'll be fine. It'll look fine. It just won't look as cool as it could. It'll be perfectly desktop quality.
Desktop?
Or tabletop. Desktop, whatever you want.
So, our topic for the day, since we're, I'm painting and I can get John ranting and raving pretty quickly. Recently, I was watching the finals of the LVO Battletech. And I was like, cool, I want to see what this,
Let's be clear, Alpha Strike.
Alpha Strike version.
Different roles.
Yeah,
Yes.
Alpha Strike version. And so I was like, oh, cool, I want to see how they, they play, what it's like, see it from someone else. And it's done by the WolfNet podcast guys that were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I see them bending a tape measure to move a model. Now, everybody knows we don't bend tape measures because we come from, all these different playthings, and bending tape measures considered no-no in a lot of places.
So that's not how you fucking measure.
Yeah. But it seemed okay. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just part of the.
It just made him twitch inside.
And then the gentlemen were playing, and they had already gone to another phase. And this guy says, "Hey, can I go back and move this model?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." They talked about it, and went on, and they went to it. And I was like, now, according to the rules packet, there are mays and musts, or things that you have to do and things that you if you forget about, you're SOL. But these two guys, I guess they've known each other. They've played against each other for a long time. And so the guy was like, yeah, just go ahead and take it back. Move where you want to move. We'll continue on. What was brought up in their Facebook group that, per the rules, he didn't have to let him do that. And he could have told him no, and they could have just, went with to it. And I responded to the post, and I described about using, bending tape measures and stuff like that. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I would not bend a tape measure. I would do, the way I usually do. But
full stop. Don't bend your fucking tape measure. You're not measuring accurately at that point.
Correct. But they allow it. It's not, game breaking to them. I'm painting one of the hunches black for you, John. Just because I love you.
I appreciate that. It's going to make your model look cooler, too. You can thank me later.
I will thank you now. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
But you really gotta. It got me thinking. You got to go with the meta, with what everybody else is doing, and you got to look at the group. The group seemed pretty chill, and they did not care that they bend tape measures or that the guy let him go, and take something back or do something that technically he didn't have to let him do. And they were doing, like, well, that's the gentleman game. And I was like, you know what? We've kind of been missing out on that because, we haven't been able to go to conventions. And so I figured it would be something cool for John and I to talk about. Because, John, what is the one rule that we should always do that would end this argument nonstop?
The easiest rule
Yeah.
solves it and every other problem real quickly. Wheaton's Law. Don't be a dick.
And that's what it came to, yeah. But
that's it, Nixu. Don't be a jackwagon.
don't be a jackwagon.
So, I actually do want to respectfully disagree with part of what Gonzo has said.
Go for it.
You do not need to ever give a shit what the meta is, what the local group does. There are only two things you need to worry about. What the actual rules say. In this case, he could say no and you could not move your guy, and you have to be cool with that.
Correct.
And what you, as a player, are willing to do to win the game within the rules. If you are no, you can't take anything back because I'm going to win this game, that's fine. You got to live with that shit. You're not going to win a lot of friends.
No.
But you'll win some games, possibly. But do you want to win because someone made a mistake? That's not like a tactical error. Someone made just, oh shit, I forgot. Get to that one in a second, Nick. So, I don't want to win like that. I would rather win because you brought your A game. You remembered to move all your models. I'll remind people of shit that they should, like, you didn't move that guy.
Correct.
I want a clean game. Now, beyond that, like, oh my fucking god, I forgot this thing that's super important. Like, that's on you whether or not you allow it.
Correct.
And Nixie says, never ask for a takebacks if you don't allow it. That, you should not. I've had that happen in War Machine in the past where the guy's like, oh god, I totally forgot this thing that's super important. I'm like, okay, go ahead. And then I'm like, oh god, I forgot something super important. It's like, no, you can't. I'm like, as we say, that person now had my full attention. And I was an absolute... I wielded the rules with razor efficiency and like, nope, can't do that. You can do that, though. Remember, you're going to reap what you sow. This is just more of the actions and consequences, the fuck around and find out. How you treat the other people in the game are how they're going to treat you back. And as long as it's by the rules, who cares? Told you it looks a lot better with that, huh? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll let it go for now.
But yeah, always remember that people are going to try to hold you to their sense of honor, let's call it. Fuck them. Honor is internal. What you can live with and what you can't live with is up to you. As long as it's within the rules, I don't care.
Yeah.
If I ask you for a take back because I made a boo-boo and you say no, that's fine. That's the rules. I'm not going to be angry. But you have to win by what you think, How do you want to win a game? What's more important to you? This is why I don't play games for money.
Oh, God. That's even...
Money makes everyone crazy.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why I don't play Magic. As soon as Magic became money, no more. So we always played the Star Wars game for PAX. Didn't want money. Because if you get money, people get dickish.
Yeah,
Money.
there is always, and this is not a dig on anybody or anything, but Adepticon, their 40K event is, a like $10,000 prize, their big one, and every year after that, you always hear something. So and so cheated, or so and so had illegal lists, or et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, that's the reason why I won't play for money anymore.
Yep. Well, so also at the LVO. The finals, I think one of the finals for 40K, one of my locals was supposed to be playing a certain guy. Like matches were paired up, boom, and then for some reason they changed it.
What?
And when they changed it, it went from him playing someone he had a game against to someone who had like basically the hard counter for his list.
That stinks.
Now, I don't necessarily suspect foul play, but it's sketchy as fuck. So here you go. Nick says, on a personal level, with Battletech's rules being cordoned off within each type of combat, some units' rules are very easy not to understand, especially if you're not playing those rules yourself. If my opponent is running for, say, aerospace, I'm not going to remind them of their own rules. Correct. You don't have to remind someone of their own rules, but you can if you want to. That's why I say it's internal, and I don't judge anyone from this. Like,
No.
you don't have to remind people of their rules, except in a case where it affects what they're doing versus you. Like, if someone's trying to do a strafing run and they can't do it because X, Y, or Z, if you know that rule, you should be reminding them. And honestly, if at that point you're reminding them, especially if, depending on the circumstances, man of the rules, you might want to remind them before they go to do it, which is difficult because you're sort of giving tactical advice then. Or maybe you remind them like, oh, hey, did you want to change what you were doing because you were operating under a false pretense? It all depends on the level. Like I said, it all depends on what you're comfortable with yourself, Some people look at the level of the game, like, oh, we're playing just a fun game. They'll let anything go. Some people are like, oh, no, we're playing a tournament at a store. I don't let things go. You know what? Like I said, it's personal. You have to decide that for yourself.
Yeah.
It's actually a good life lesson in general. Everything you have to decide for yourself. Yeah, Nick Sue, this is a local group. I'm big on encouraging players to, if they want to try new things, to know enough of those rules to teach their opponent. Absolutely. If you can't explain your rules to your opponent well, you should not be playing the thing. Especially if it's an optional rule or an advanced rule that's not in a normal game. Nah, don't be expecting. My perfect example is, I'll say War Machine and Horde, since you're painting some of that shit right now. If you're people who just play for funsies and don't use Steamroller, don't try to enter Steamroller. You're taking a game to a level they're not used to playing.
And probably a level they don't want to play.
I mean, yes, probably not. That's a different problem, but don't try and enforce it, because now you have to explain Steamroller rules. They're very arbitrary and weird. But like Nixie said, if you want to teach someone a rule, bring something that uses that rule. He said he made a C3 company just to teach people how to fight C3. Shoot the mech closest to you. Oh, no range bonus if I killed that fucker, huh? And Nixie says 2 lists, 8 pieces of terrain, Steamroller only. Sure, that's a way to play. That's a more advanced issue with the game more than anything that I don't necessarily want to get into. But yeah, you have to know what you want to do. And note, this doesn't just count for miniatures games. Board games. There are board games. We talked about this with Jim. House rules.
Oh, yeah.
There are board games where certain parts only function with house rules. Sure, it happens. Especially older games aren't supported anymore, There's a whole community to keep those games alive. Some of them, they're not supported, but they're still made. So you need to know that, again. And a board game's another big one where, knowing what it is. When we play Storm Realms in a big group, I will add stuff up for my other players. And, one I was teaching a young lady how to play with it, and she goes that, and I'm like, no, you forgot this. So I added up with her. So cool. And then she ended up shooting me with most of it, which was funny. But I don't care.
Your own.
She got to play the card. I mean, the cards she played did this. She was missing out. So it is what it is. Also, I do like on that level. There is a Star Wars is weird because there's not a lot of rule book for it, but they're making a full rule book with their next Kickstarter, or for their last Kickstarter. Sorry. It's cool. So one of the biggest drives playing local War Machine back in Mark II was I built a whole cool narrative table with smokestacks and river and stuff. The local tourney players scoffed at it, and they went to their symmetrical tables with 2 hills, 2 walls, a forest on one side. Yep. That is, again, that's a War Machine and Hordes discussion for that, when we want John to rant about that. But that is sort of the thing, it's sort of the same problem in general, is you should know what the rules are. Steamroller rules have, assuming they're still the same they were, has Mark IV technically launched?
Yes, it has.
Okay. With Mark III, there were specific rules about how you deploy terrain. I literally went through one time and I just deployed terrain based on that rule. The guy's like, "Well, we don't like this." Fuck you. That's the rules. Your packet has rules on how to deploy terrain. Doesn't have to be symmetrical.
Nope.
The roll on the side to pick who goes first should actually be a choice.
Oh yes.
There's one tournament where I just had my buddy the Jason, who makes tables that look cool, like set up terrain. He set up terrain for all the tables, and I went through and said, okay, moved a couple things to make sure people could access, but a lot of times there was a clear good side and a clear not as good side. They bitched to me a little bit that. You know what I said? Fuck it, just play, dude.
Choosing table edges should always, to me, that should always be factored into whenever you set up.
Yep, you should keep that in mind. I mean, and I'll say this a lot, and I did like to note that I am to a point a contrarian about certain things. It's a flaw, but it is what it is. Where if they say this is the only way to play the game, my mind immediately goes, "Oh, really?" And then I try to find another way to play the game. I don't know if you guys have played the Advanced Civilization board game. Not Sid Meier's Civilization. It's called Advanced Civilization. They told me when we started playing it, it was not a war game. Challenge accepted. But anyways, so like, like they'll say that this is the only way to play the game. You don't have to accept that. You'll want to look at the rules to know that. I mean, we have rules for a reason. And within the rules, I mean, they say don't hate the player, hate the game. That's not entirely true, because there are players who try to twist it. But to an extent, if it's a rule that's telling you can't do X or Y, that would be cool, or you have to do X or Y that's stupid, that you have to blame the rules on, not the players. Don't get angry at them. Legionnaire says, I went for a diplomacy win at the end of the game at 6:30 a.m. Yep. Oof. Nikki says, nowadays playing Battletech, I build a fun string narrative tables that have cover to move between and slight lines to play around. Absolutely. More than that, you need objectives. That was why we stopped playing Battletech back in the day, because there weren't as many objectives. We were young and dumb. And, the new 40K 3rd edition came out, and there was objectives easy peasy. That fucking book was a game changer. But anyways. But yeah, so, you don't have to do that. You just don't be a dick. Play by the rules, but outside of that, with take backsies and leniency, that's 100% your call.
Yeah.
Should always be your call. Don't let someone else tell you how you should make a decision. If you want to play a nice game and you want to let the guy do the take back, within whatever reason you decide, cool. If you don't, that's also cool, as long as it's within the rules. Don't let them say, oh, well, we give takebacks around here. Not in the rules, sir. Yeah. You need to discuss that beforehand, which brings me to one I talked about years ago, which we all have the unspoken gamer contract, which is basically Wheaton's Law, don't be a dick. But there should be a spoken one. Like when I sit down to play people, I'm like, look, I have really shitty depth perception. If I measure something and it looks wrong, tell me. I can't always tell at an angle and shit, dude. If I pick up my dice quick and you like, hey, I didn't see those, just let me know. I will slow down for you. It's like Stubbs here in Jersey used to give a big speech before all his tournaments about what he expected and how he ran things. It was great, because that's more of a gamer social contract, and it's being expressed to you. In that case, he's the tournament director, organizer. He's going to be, this is how I rule things, Like I had one in one of his tournaments where a guy he moved my model because of, or moved his model without my input, and it was like a throw from one of my dudes from Mule Cannon. And when he put it down, I'm like, that was entirely the wrong direction. He's like, oh, well, it's done now. And what can I do? Right? Do you make a big scene? Do you call a TO with no proof? No, you go, fuck it, it's just a game, who cares? If that's how that guy has to win, then that's how he wins. Spoiler, that is how that guy has to win by cheating. I've caught him. But it's up to you. If you want to make a big deal about it, that's cool. Don't someone browbeat you into saying, no, don't make a big deal. It's not a big deal. We're not on top table. No. Play the game how you see fit within the rules. And, you know, you got to live with it, you know? I still remember it years ago. I don't regret it. I don't really care. You know, it was way back in the day. We were doing all sorts of crazy shit. It was the birth of steamroller zones and shit. So it was difficult. Uh, and Nixie says, for free table building tip for anyone who wants to use buildings, if you build on a grid, turn your grid 30 to 45 degrees relative to the table edges. Absolutely. Don't let one side have sight lines down the whole lane.
Oh yeah.
That's an infinity note we'd learn real fucking quick. Unless you want it to, you can have one main drag down the center, but that's a table building terrain thing, and then have offshoots where you don't do that. But anyways, back to the main topic. Yeah, I mean, it's always tough in the takebacks and stuff because you want to be nice, but you don't want to be taken advantage of. That's why it's got to be personal. You've got to decide what you can and can't, or what you will and won't allow, what you can live with and what you can't. Similar example, I had a guy at the ATC, the American Team Championships, who tried to do this thing because he was running out of time in his turn. He's like, I do this, and this, and started putting on models after his time expired. I'm like, no, son, it don't work like that. That's not how the rules work. And I could have called the TO, and I could have been like, you get none of it because you didn't finish any one of them. But I just said, you get the first one, the rest of them you don't get. You know? And you can say that. If someone's basically violating the rules, you can say, you're basically making an offer. This is what I'm willing to say you did within your time or within the rules. You want more than that? We'll get TO over here, and I guarantee you're probably going to get nothing.
You'll get nothing
Don't hesitate
like
to
it.
do that. I mean, you got to bargain sometimes. Like, I understand you're in a time crunch. You could have finished this action in the time allotted.
Because if you would have called a TO, he probably wouldn't have got none of it.
Multiple actions.
Yeah.
You know?
He probably wouldn't have got any of those actions because he didn't finish the first one before he went to the second one.
Correct. But I was willing to be magnanimous, generous about it. You know. Should I have been? Probably not. Turns out he wasn't that kind of guy, but it is what it is. Like, if I saw the guy again and recognized him, I wouldn't be angry. It is what it is. He'd have my full attention in a game. But, you know, like I said, you gotta what you can live with, what you can't live with. That's what it boils down to in games and in life. You should probably talk at some point, Gonzo.
I was enjoying listening. I mean, it really does, and it comes down to knowing who you're playing, knowing what you're willing to let them do, and I wouldn't say get away with, but that's the best way to put it.
That's sort of get away. I mean, we don't mean it negatively.
Correct.
That's
This
just
is not a
the easiest way to
negative
say it.
thing. This is, okay, I'm playing this person. This person, we're having a good time. We're making sound effects, so on and so forth, and you can tell that this person's not a dick. And he's like, oh, I forgot to do this. Even though he's done that same thing for 2 rounds, people get nervous or, the clock gets on them or newbie, type thing. You usually can tell when this is a oops or I'm going to fuck you with this. Best way to put it.
You got to go by your gut a lot.
Yeah.
But
And
remember, as long as the rules support your gut, who cares? Because anything beyond that is you're being nice.
Yeah. Nothing says you
We
have
have a
to.
guy who would show up and play, and he would be the most nitpicky of nitpicks with what you're doing, and then be the most freewheely of freewheels with what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, I would shut that shit down when I was playing him. If I was judging it, I would shut that shit down as well.
That's a pretty prevalent one that's been seen recently at tournaments is, oh, can you remeasure that? Can you redo that? Can you do that again? Oh, I didn't get to see that. Can you measure that again? And then when it comes their turn.
In a time environment, that becomes a problem. And then you have to look at that also.
Correct.
I mean, I've said this. I've played a tournament in the past. We were playing at games and stuff. And Dave Marnicle played a guy, and he's like, I won that one on time. And that guy was kind of slow and new. So I played the guy and I looked at him and I realized how long he was taking to think about stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going to do stuff that's so next level, chess level fucking moves that he's going to have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm going to win this game on time. And boy, did I. But that's another thing also. You look at the environment. If you're playing a time turn, you really have to change what it is, and how you're necessarily functioning. Because you want to be nice, but also time is a thing.
Yeah.
If you have no turn timer, but a overall round timer, you might want to think twice about letting someone get away with shit.
That was
Because they're taking up time that you could use. So I mean, it becomes a thing. In fact, as a tournament, if you're a tournament organizer, you should probably say something about that.
Yeah, slow play.
Yeah, I had to.
Negative
Magic players back in the day.
Negative. I would say negative. Intentional slow play.
It's hard to prove.
But yes,
it's hard to prove. I mean, literally, how I used to do it in Magic players is they get the top table and he'd like judge, and I would be judged because I ran the store at that point. Be like, he's slow playing. I'm like, oh, that's fine. I ain't closing until you guys are done. I got nowhere to be. Funny how suddenly the guy started playing a more normal rate when he realized I was not going to end it on time because he's trying to slow. That's the easy solution. And sometimes you do that because that's non-confrontational. You're not saying the guy's slow playing. I couldn't prove he was slow playing. I just told him we weren't going to end it until he was done.
Yeah, because there are people that do that. There was Marvel Crisis Protocol. At some tournaments, people were trying to do that, and so they were like, "We've got to start watching this person." Or,
I mean, you have to watch, but I mean, again, proving intent. Ask any lawyer. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Some people just don't think well under pressure.
Correct.
Bowie, when he pops in here, sometimes he plays Marvel games, and he even says himself, "I need to get faster because sometimes I just analysis paralysis myself into oblivion." And there's a lot of games where you can do that easily. War Machine, you can do it easily. When your Warcaster's got 37 things they can do,
yeah.
I don't know what the fuck I want to do.
Yeah, and like I said, you kind of want to actually take into account the person. If I'm playing against Mizzy, and she's slow playing, and we're not on a clock, I'm not worried about it because I know that she's new, learning the game, trying to figure out the 80 million combos that could be worked.
I'll one up you if I'm in a tournament playing and I have to play against Brad or one of my crew, and they are quote unquote slow playing. I don't care.
Yeah,
because they're not slow playing intentionally.
Yeah, but if I'm playing against like Will Pagani, we'll just throw that name out there, and he's slow playing, then I would say something. But I use as an example because he knows how to play, and he knows
how to play. He's going to come into the game ready to go.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't, but I've just used his name.
No, it's an example. I understand.
Yeah.
We're not calling out Will Pagani.
Nope. I love you, Pagani. But that goes to the thing, of that would be, oh, this guy's a world champion, has been playing, all over the world and everything, and he's slow playing? Okay, we need to talk.
Yep. Like, I'll say this, bringing out my old guy Kane. Back in the day, you could always tell the good players because they played quick and clean. Like, we really didn't have to worry about that for a long time until cash prizes became a fucking thing.
What?
And I'm not going to say that's a thing. It's just human nature. You start putting money on the line, people start caring a lot more.
Yep.
And then people start doing that,
I need my $10,000.
We didn't have too many complaints of cheating when people were playing for fucking packs of cards.
Store credit.
It was even packs of cards back in the day, Gonzos. I wouldn't give them full score credit. That's crazy talk.
Crazy talk.
I mean, sometimes they would ask nicely, like, "Hey, they would bargain. Like, hey, I really just want one, these 2 copies of this card, instead of all the packs." And I would go yes or no based on the value. Is what it is.
Just give me 2 Black Lotuses for my win, and I'm cool.
Did I ever tell you the first Magic tournament I played in? Second Magic tournament I played in. The first real Magic tournament I played in. The prize was a Black Lotus and basically an ante. We didn't have an ante because you couldn't ante, legally speaking. That's gambling. It was
Yep.
illegal at the time. But we all had to give up a rare card to get into the tournament in addition to the entry fee. So you won all the rare cards in the Black Lotus.
Ooh.
Uh, I played that. My buddy Jerry Zepp was he's a Marine. He was out of town for that tournament, and he spent all this time and money on his deck. He really wanted me to try the deck. Um, so I played his deck, and it was like power cards galore. It was like all the power cards. And man, I fold, spindle, and mutilated some people, and came back, and I'm like, all right, cool. I guess I got a Black Lotus and a bunch of other cards. You know what that Black Lotus got me?
What?
A bunch of smaller cards and dinner.
And dinner.
Hell yeah! But that sort of thing. I mean, in that game, we're all there. I mean, there's stakes, but you couldn't sell a Black Lotus for a lot of money because no one was going to pay a lot of money for it at that time.
Yeah, and at that time, true.
Because we're talking like 94, 95 maybe. So you have to look at that. There were no rules problems. There was no muss, no fuss. We just played and had fun. There's a lot of tournaments we didn't have that problem because there was no money on the line. As soon as you start putting more serious prizes on the line, people start looking for ways to win. And it's kind of cultural.
And sometimes it's not even money. It's like a cool card, or I can resell this, or an army. I'm going to give away a painted army to the winner, which I think was the
My
stupidest thing.
favorite tournament is the White Elephant tournament that Double Squid would run at Drop Zone, where we all just brought in a prize. The store would add some more, and that's not important. And you go and you pick a box, and either you keep it or then you can take something from somebody else instead of picking a box. Or, a wrapped prize.
Yeah.
Those are great because, I mean, for the most part, you're just playing. Everyone gets something fun. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a fun event.
You're just chilling and relaxing.
Yeah, just chilling and relaxing. You get higher up, you get people. But we had a pretty good crew. And I attribute that partially to the crew and partially to, strict rule of no cash prizes.
Yeah, whenever it started becoming cash prizes in Magic, that's when I got out.
Yeah.
And then when Warhammer started to do cash prizes, I was like,
I'll play a friendly, but I'm not going to play like for cash money.
Yeah.
I'll play a ringer in that, but even that was like I played ringer in one. It was
Still the same thing.
But that's sort of the thing, and I'll do that because it reminds me of another situation where a guy was he's like, I'm going to leave he was putting stuff where it can't get, deploying it where it's not allowed to get to before they've had those rules. So I'm like, I can't say no. But, when he tried to move it from there, I'm like, you can't move. I was like, why? You can't traverse that terrain. You're stuck.
Yeah, you put him there.
He tried to do stupid stuff like having his dreadnought stand on a wall. I'm like, well, your model can't physically fit there, so you cannot put him there. And he kept trying to like force it, and I'm like, nah. And that's my best advice with that. If someone tries to force their way through a rule is wrong, just tell them no. Make them call the fucking organizer. It's their turn. Just say no. If they're a dick about it, you can tell them. Don't call the organizer. Don't ever feel like calling the TO is a bad thing.
Oh no, that's what I always think. It's funny.
It just means that you have something that requires his input because you cannot come to an amicable solution. I didn't know the TO was busy with. I'm going to say this nicely, the real players. I didn't need to come down to talk to us because I was a ringer, and he was not going to get anywhere. So, I just said, no, you can't do that. And I just kept saying no till I realized the answer was going to be no.
What's the answer?
No. I asked the Pope of nope. You know what he said?
Nope.
Nope. But you don't get a lot of those. We make it sound like it's a lot. It's the vast minority of players you have to deal with that with, even for all of these problems.
Yeah.
Most people go in there just going to have a good time. Sure, there may be various levels of seriousness, but the best players, you can always tell the best because they will tailor the way they play to how you're playing. You know, there are players who are so good at most games that they know outside of crazy dice rolls, they will probably beat you. There's that hierarchy in any game as they learn it. But they don't play any of this hard, but they're not the same stickler, you know? They're going to play by the rules, but they're not going to be, I don't want to say, they're not going to be dicks about it, you know?
Yeah.
They'll remind you more of your stuff than they would a higher player. Like, that's sort of the big way of telling when you know someone's a good player. Like, yeah, you got this thing. And like, oh, thank you for that thing. I might have forgotten that. And sometimes that's what you want because you want to win, but don't you want to win because your opponent played his best? Like, winning because someone forgot something key, like a gotcha thing. That's not cool. That's only cool if your opponent's an absolute jackass.
Jackass.
I understand the feeling that he's a jackass, and you're like, yep, suck it, bitch. But in general, like, you know, if I play Gonzo, I don't want to beat Gonzo because of a technicality and he forgot something. I want to beat Gonzo because he brought our A game, we played, and we had a good time, and I came out on top.
Yeah, and that comes down to the social contract of don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
It solves so many problems.
Yeah, I mean,
Shooting blanks does not win by gotchas. You are correct, Banyan.
What do you say?
Shooting blanks also does not win too much. Shooting blanks. That's our team. That's our group team name. Me, him, and Bowie.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we actually did almost win. We did come in second that tournament.
But I mean, with tournaments kicking off, more conventions coming up, and everything, I thought this was very important for people to realize that one, it's still a game, guys. Mm-hmm. If him winning or her, don't want to, put it out there.
If them winning.
Yeah. If them winning is that so important, fucking.
Like if
I don't have time for that.
A cheat to win, and they need that for their life to be good. Well, you know what? You should have told me I'd have thrown for you.
Yeah.
And if that's what it's going to take to make your life better, fucking A, I will throw a game for you.
I'm here to make cool sound effects, throw dice, meet new people, have a good time, and go home with a smile on my face. If we got to be a dick about it, I'll just stay home.
Got better things to do.
Yeah.
There are single-player video games that would not require me to interact with another human being at all, and the computer will follow its rules.
What?
Those rules may be cheating rules, but they're consistently cheating rules. There's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of things we can do for a hobby. And people forget that. It's a cultural thing. We celebrate people who win regardless of how they win. Had this discussion on other topics. They don't like sports players who cheat. You're off screen.
Sorry.
It becomes a big deal when people cheat in a sports game because, it's supposed to be rules. It's supposed to be fair to some extent. There's only so much fairness that you can interject into a game. That's why we like our models to be fair, our scenarios to be fair, and our dice to be fair, because we can't control a skill level difference between people.
No.
But if we remove the variables, they'll come right down to skill. And I'll tell you what, I have never once felt bad about losing to somebody who was better than me. And I knew it. Like, sometimes you sit there like, that guy's just better than me. That girl's just better than me. Awesome. They won. They deserve it. And sometimes you can dice your way through stuff. That's fun, too, every once in a while. Maybe not so much for the better player, but hey, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, just chill out. Have fun. If someone's better than you or if winning is more important, don't get upset about it. Just go find something else to do.
Nixu, if your dice roll consistently high for War Machine, it'll be okay if I roll them too. I have always offered my opponent that. Like, hey, do you want to roll my dice as well? I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't have superstition about dice.
I do, but they're not real. I understand they're not real superstitions.
Yeah.
I had someone call me out because literally I would roll, then put those dice aside, roll the next part of the dice, then put those dice aside, roll the next part of the dice, and then go back and forth. He called me out for that, and I'm like, "You have something you want to say to my face, or just online?" I'm doing stupid dice things because I have 16 fucking six-sided ring with me, I wish them all to get use. If you don't like it, fuck off.
Yeah.
That guy was the opposite of Wheaton's Law. He was always a dick.
Go somewhere else.
He did. He moved. I was happy. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you say?
Like, he says he's got his grabby dice and I'm rolling hot. I'll put the dice towards my opponent and offer him to let me roll them. Yeah. Look, it is so hard to get, like, actual legitimate cheating dice that without being fucking absolutely blatant. So, I've got these boyos. These roll like shit. But I would still
Oh, the
roll
Ghost
them.
Bear ones?
They're cool. They're awesome. So far, they have rolled like absolute poop. But I've not played them in a game yet. But I will. I don't care.
Okay.
Game, right? Is it not going to end because my dice rolled poorly? Let me tell you what. It will not be the first time. It's definitely not going to be the last time.
My dice are actually trying to end me most times. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, dice that roll high. Yeah. It's a meme that everyone has in all the servers. I actually had dice that I think may have actually just been engineered poorly. I believe that the paint they used to fill in the holes was heavier than what they drilled out for the holes. So I feel like they were unbalanced because they'd roll low. Which came to me using them to hit in champions because you need to roll low and then use other dice for damage. I mean, they may be crap, but they're cool. I'll still roll them. I don't care. Maybe they're all better in a dice box. I use a dice box most of the time, or a dice tray. Maybe they're all better, but I'm telling you right now. 6. What are the higher rolls I've gotten? So, it's all good, you know? You can't take this stuff too seriously. We're playing games, for Christ's sakes. Holy shit. There we go.
We're playing with plastic dollies pushing around on a table. Or resin or metal or whatever the fuck you want to say.
Yeah, but you can eventually tell those, Nixie, when you have dice that you can't stack anymore. I have so many six-sided, I just get some more six-sideds. I have a million. I used to play orcs for fuck's sakes. Someone's like, well, what do you do when you have to roll attacks for 30 orc boys charging in? I grab another cube of dice. But they charging, so you got 4 dice each. That's 120 dice. You didn't bring 120 dice? Spoiler, I bring 120 dice.
No.
I need to roll 120 dice at once. For fuck's sake, I'm playing orcs. That is what I fucking came here to do. I came here to roll a metric shit ton of dice all at once.
So, like, your dice tray is actually like a trough?
No, there was that particular game, there was a pond in the middle of the table, and I rolled in the pond. I was just like, all right, let me get these out. Another good point. Pull out the dice that miss. No one's going to be upset if you pull an extra die that hit. Pull out the dice that miss.
Yeah.
Leave the hits so your opponent can look at them real quick. Oh, cool, look. Boom.
That is a number one type rule when you're playing with multiple dice. Is
Yep.
only pull up your misses. Leave your hits because then your opponent can't say anything about it.
I did that with Marvel Crisis Protocol. I rolled the dice and I picked up real quick. And I was like, I didn't see those. I'm like, you never need to.
They didn't contribute to the narrative of the scenario.
Like, yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
No effect, sir.
Legionnaires,
Hold
you
on
would
that
be
quick.
really surprised
Yeah.
that people, especially in multi
It's honest.
dice,
They're picking up the hits, putting them in their hand because they're going to roll them again. Like, it's not like intentionally sketchy. It's unintentionally sketchy. They're literally pulling up because they're going to pick up and roll them again. But really, pick those up, put those shitty dice aside, and then roll those again. I don't roll that many dice anymore. I don't have that games that do that. Though, we'll have to roll. Well, actually, might have to roll a fair amount of dice there, Gonzo, because of the game we're going to be using for our next role-playing game.
What's that?
I said I might have to roll a bunch of dice for certain times in the new game we're going to be playing. Well, new game. My new campaign we're coming up. Because we are going to use in D&D 4th edition And you might have to roll quite a few of a weird dice if you've got a weapon attack. So it could be interesting. We will see.
Never know.
Yep. Yeah, we decided that, Bania. Yep, 4th edition. Decided we could make the one difficult character work, so we wanted to try it intentionally. We love 4th edition. I dare say it's probably our favorite edition of D&D. But we're also miniature gamers, so it also adds into our miniature game love. Yeah, stock SF. Don't worry, I got all that. We played it for a long time when it had come out originally.
So we're gonna go with media section. I
Sure.
got a weird media section because it is RPGs, TV shows, movies, and just so everybody knows, I did subscribe to the random RPG thing that everybody's been seeing, where you get like 1 or 2 books, for like $17.95 or whatever, And so my first ones will come in on Tuesday. So I'll open them, but I will review them on the podcast.
Cool.
So that way we can see it. I'll keep them hidden so nobody knows until we get into the podcast. But I'll open them up that way I can peruse them because in case it's something I have never gotten before.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like the idea of that.
Yeah, because if it's something I like, I'll keep it. If not, I'll just give it to someone else.
Yeah.
I don't care. So don't know what it's going to be. We'll have to figure it out. Well, I have to wait. I do have another RPG coming to me. It got delayed in mail, so it'll probably be coming Tuesday also.
Yeah, I need to work to get that other one shipped to you.
Yeah, I guess I gotta ship some pants to you too.
Some pants?
Yeah, some pants. Because you ship pants. Don't remember the commercial? I shipped my pants. Come on, that commercial was amazing.
I don't remember that commercial.
Oh man, you have to look it up.
Fair note that at a certain point we had TiVo and we would literally pause for 15, 20 minutes, go do life, then come back and fast forward through all the commercials. It was the best. And nowadays, no commercials. Anyways, my media section is, well, it's 2 weeks worth of movies, so 2 movies. Oh, no, I'm reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin. I will have a review for you for next week. I did not quite finish it this week. A couple nights I was up late playing video games and did not get to read as much as I wanted. So,
okay.
Next week.
So I got a copy of a PDF for the new Dune RPG. Now, no people that worked on it, everything else. I read through it. Didn't get really deep into it, just trying to figure out what makes this different than, your standard RPG, just making a character and playing in a world. You know what I'm saying? I was looking for that, that elevator pitch thing that, would make me want to play this. The book is a really good book, by the way. Really good stories, really good art, really good setup. It's set up really nice. It's not hard to read or anything. Really cool looking, especially if you're majorly into the Dune world. And one of the things that makes this really interesting is you build your house. You and your players build a house, and you have side characters on top of your main character. Because your side characters are like, oh, this is the secretary or the war master, of the house, and they decide stuff, which I thought was a really good concept, having a house, because then you have to decide which house hates you, how do they hate you, depending on how big your house is, all this stuff that you can do with. And I was like, that's a really cool concept. That's neat. That's fun. Then you can build your character, and everything's kind of skill-based, et cetera, et cetera. But I always come back to this. It is based off of a world that is, for intents purposes, complete. The story is complete.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was thinking. You're talking like, I don't know how you play in that world. I don't see an area that would
you would have
be
to
interesting.
Correct. You would have to House Atreides doesn't exist, and you're now you would be put in the spot, or
is that really worth it?
Correct. So that's the reason maybe you're a smaller house that works with House Atreides. and they call you in as like
Um,
right before they're destroyed, and you help out.
it's part of the Dragonlance problem
Correct.
with the War of the Lance and all,
Correct.
or the Star Wars problem playing during said events. All you can do is be secondary characters who technically don't affect the plot in any way, shape, or form, really. Just maybe enable to get to the point, you know? Like, you could play, off the top of my head, you could play between Empire and Return of the Jedi, you could play the Bothan spies who get the Death Star 2 plans, knowing you're all going to die. Much like Rogue One, you know, where they got the plans, they all died. You could play something like that, but that's a lot of work to get that to work.
And
Did
that's
you
the
freeze or
thing.
you're reading?
It's
Are you reading?
yeah. Someone sent me an important text. And that's my problem. And it's not really a problem with the game. It's just a problem with the world because you have to
It's a
go to
problem with
have good.
certain licensed properties.
Yes.
The story is complete. There is no easy way for you to fit in, aside from small bits. And I'll talk about that actually in a section, part of media section, really, because
Yeah.
it's Dragonlance.
But I mean, you would. I could never run this because I don't know Dune well enough. I'd love to play it because it looks kind of neat, but this is something a good GM would have to, you know,
There are some guys out there who know
could do
Dune
it.
so well, they could really make that shine.
Yeah,
But to the average person, oof, oof. No.
I couldn't do it, and I
Yeah,
would
no.
say that. I couldn't do it. I like it. I thought it was interesting. I like what I saw, like what I read, like the way things were done. Everything seemed really cool. Very well put together book. But I would like to play it like maybe at a convention to test it out.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool.
Or, you know,
Also, maybe the system's good enough you can shoehorn it to do something else with.
correct, you could. You could probably use the system and, you know, maybe a timeline in the way past or a way
Or
future.
no, just use it like you'd use Fading Suns to do general political based sci-fi.
Yeah, you could
You could do that.
you could do it. I mean, it would have to be you have to separate it. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah,
You would have to
you have
separate it
to
from that.
you have to fucking file the serial numbers off, but is what it is. I'm pretty good at that. Um, so it sounded cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I was going to message. So Simon Berman is one that worked on it. I was going to give him a message saying, "Hey,
Oh, cool.
really liked your book. This was pretty good. Don't know if I could do it that well. I couldn't do it justice, but I like it. Good job." You know, because I'll tell you right now, guys, if you know someone that's worked on a product, they don't mind if you send them a message saying, "Hey, attaboy."
Give them a kudos. Yeah,
Give them a kudos. They
Right.
appreciate that. But I liked
To
it. I
tell
thought
them
it was good.
people are reading it and it's a connection. They may not know you very well. But, oh, this guy I've interacted with read my book and liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. I love the layout. I love the art. The system was very simple. Wasn't too hard.
That's
It was
important.
yeah. It was everything's kind of a skill based type thing.
Mhm.
I just know that I couldn't. I don't know Dune well enough to do it justice, but I would love to play in a game.
Gotcha.
So,
Well,
John, go
my
ahead.
first media is I actually finished the annotated Dragonlance Chronicles finally. Spent way too long not reading, but I finally finished all that. And boy, that's a heck of a sitting because it's a giant book. Um, most of it still holds up pretty well. And the parts that don't necessarily hold up pretty well, since it's annotated, they actually call themselves out. There's a point in the third book where they're like, yeah, I don't feel like this works. I feel like this is not where that character should have been going. We would have done it differently if we had it to do it all over again. Oh, thanks, Nixon. But still enjoyable. I would never call it quite a comfort book because reading the whole trilogy is tough because you're going to bawl at least twice. If you don't bawl at least twice, I question your humanity. But still good. I feel like at some point it completely changes. I feel like you can tell the point in the books where they change from they're playing it in D&D and sort of embellishing it for the novel to the novel has caught up and it passed where they were in their playthrough. You can sort of tell because things go different. And I'm not sure I like it as much, but it's still good to have a complete story like that. I mean, obviously, I would give that zero space herpes. And to your point of playing in a world, we've talked about the Dragonlance world and how hard it is. If you want a book that shows you how you can tweak somebody into something like that, read. It's called Stormblade. It's one of the Heroes volume, the first Heroes series, which is the Legends of Huma, Stormblade, and Weasel's Luck.
Oh, good books.
Uh, I need to reread Weasel's Luck. I don't remember liking it as much the first time, but I think I would like it more now. But Stormblade is one of my favorite Dragonlance books, and it is the epitome of showing you how to take ostensibly other characters and fit them into someone else's story. So I would say if you're looking for that, look at that book. Gonzo?
I was going to jump on your book thing. Our local, this is just a quick, no, our local nerd group at work, we started our first book club and started our first book. And a lot of them are just now coming into nerddom and coming into fantasy stuff. So guess what the first book I made them
You're
read?
their nerd senpai?
I am the nerd senpai.
Senpai Gonzo! That's creepy. I never say that again. Strike that from the record.
Ah.
Like that's stricken. Their first book.
I'm going to let you guess.
I'm not going to guess. There's too many books.
I'm making them read the first I'm making them read the Chronicles, and we're doing the first book of Dragonlance.
Okay.
I think that's a very good one. It's an easy read.
I also loaned that to one of my newer employees. She was like looking for something to read, and I'm like, well, I only have the giant, thick, annotated version, but here you can go.
Yeah, I gave that to one of my friends at work and said,
I
hey.
also, for another one of my other D&D friends at work, I actually bought her the trilogy.
Yeah. We're gonna work through it, but we're doing the first book first, and I'm like, this one's easy. It's an easy read. It's a great read. It's a lot of fun. So
early on, ask them who their favorite character is and why it's Tasselhoff.
Yeah.
Most growth in the book, and most poignant growth in the book, Tasselhoff Bertha.
Yes.
Fanny, get the fuck out of here with Raceland.
So last week I talked about a Japanese TV show that was on called Alice in Borderland. It is on Netflix. Season 2 came out recently. Pretty much what it is this guy and his friends get teleported to a world where they have to play a game, and if you lose the game, you die. Very much, not a good show to watch if you don't have, you don't want to see, hard-hitting stuff type thing. But I finished the series. There's possibly going to be a third season, and I actually really liked it. I thought it was Nixon got it snipped. So that is
the
now
opposite of striking it from the record. I would like to point out.
Yeah, good way to go, Nixie. But that is a new clip. But I really enjoyed it. It was very unique. The characters really grow in this, which I thought was great. Usually it's like nobody cares, nobody happens, and everybody just dies and everything and just goes. But the characters have really good growth in this story, and the characters change and move along. So I really, really enjoyed this. If it's not your cup of tea, it is, like a Squid Game type show where people, die, so on and so forth. It has some good plot twists, good story, good character growth. I would probably give this like 1 space herpy out of 5, but I mean, it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a blast. I hope they do a third season because it leaves on a twist, and I hope it comes out because I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I have 2 movies to review. I watched one last week and one this week. Last week I rewatched, and both of them are rewatches, not new watches. I watched what was it last week? Nobody Again, which is from like some of the directors of John Woo, and it's Bob Odenkirk, and it's just a fun action movie. It's in that sort of John Wick one badass style, but he's less absolute badass than John Wick in some cases and more human sometimes. But it's just got some fun fights. I love having Christopher Lloyd in there as his father. It's great. having the RZA in there as his brother, and watching it again, I noticed some things. Like you see a picture of his father, him, and then you see that it was supposed to be the young the RZA there. I'm like, that's great. The little setup they did that you don't notice the first time through because you're not looking for it. The second time is the second time is great. Enjoy the crap out of it. It's got some good one-liners, some fun action. Would absolutely 100% watch a sequel. Yeah, just if you like that kind of action movie, it's a little violent at points. Never horror gory, just like that semi-fun comedy action gory.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, being his father and him like, Dad, you brought a lot of shotguns. Son, you brought a lot of Russians. It's super fun. I enjoy it. I give it 1. Like, I can't quite give it 0 because, it's a little off-putting at points. It starts a little slowly. And the tone is a little up and down. Not horribly so, but a little up and down. But still well worth watching, well worth owning.
So I'm watching another show on Netflix, and I think this is a Korean show, but it's called Physical 100. They take 100 of the most physical fit people and put them through, physical things. Like who can hold on to the top of this bar the longest without falling.
Why not just Ninja Warrior?
Yeah. And then make them wrestle over something or whatever. And it's a good thing. I mean, some of these people are swole as shit, the best way to put it. And then they've got like, not everybody's a big bodybuilder. There's something like, gymnasts and, physical fitness people. And it's actually pretty interesting to watch them do it because it's all dubbed. So they got silly English accents. Or silly English going through, but it's interesting to watch. It's fun. I'm not going to rate it because it's just whatever, and it's not done yet. And it's a Netflix show that doesn't have all the episodes out at once, John.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
like that clip you sent. Like I could hear this in John's voice.
Yeah.
Both of those were true, by the way.
Yes. But what I want to review is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Came out on Disney Plus.
I purposely didn't watch because I just didn't give a shit.
I
sat down like, I could watch that, but I don't care enough to.
So I put it on, and I was looking forward to it because I wanted to see where they took the story and whatever. And I'm gonna tell you, I was bored. I literally wanted to fast forward. I was so bored in some scenes. I was like, it had no direction. It really had zero direction, in my opinion. Were there some good touching scenes?
Like what they complained the other Marvel movies were for, just movers to introduce people and get them moved to the next spot, not actually stories on their own. Did it feel like that?
It felt like, okay, before I go, they had a great tribute to Chadwick Boseman. The awesome little Marvel screen that comes through. It shows like Captain America and Hulk. It was all Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther stuff. And I was like, oh, that kind of brought a tear to my eye. I was like, type thing. But that was good. And of course, the movie was dedicated to him. But they went off on that. But the characters, I was like, all right, this is cool. They're really boring and nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's doing anything. And it's just totally off the rails. And, well, wait a minute. Something might happen. No. And it was more about trying to prove who they were and what they were doing with Submariner and everything, and it just didn't fit. It literally did not work. Fight scenes were okay, but
I saw one of the fight scenes online. Someone was bitching about it. I'm like, this is fine. Choreography's good.
Yeah,
action's decent. Seems good.
I didn't have any problems with that, but it was the story and a lot of the dialogue was very bleh. Question for you: big CGI finale or no? There was some CGI finales, but it really ended really poorly. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're done. The after credit scene really didn't make any sense whatsoever. So it was just meh.
Yeah.
It brought a meh, but a little bit too much of a meh because, like I said, there were a couple of times I felt like just fast forwarding because the dialogue just drug on for no reason. So I'm giving it almost 3, 2.5 to
Oh
3.
shit.
I was not happy with it at all. I was very upset. I wish it would have been better. Um, I doubt we'll see any more Black Panther.
So you're saying it was as good as an average DC movie?
Oh yeah, yeah, better. But all right. So John, your next one.
I watched Payback with Mel Gibson,
Okay.
which is a good, I don't want to say revenge movie, but kind of that sort of that motif, where he plays a criminal that's betrayed and he comes back to get his portion of the money that he didn't get. Um, Now, I own two versions of this movie because there is the theatrical cut, which I watched last night, and then there is the director's cut, which no one should watch ever. Because the director's cut is super gritty, takes a lot of the fun out of it, and has a very ambiguous ending, unlike this, which has the much more standard ending. The whole idea is Mel Gibson plays Porter, who was betrayed by his wife and an obsessive friend, another criminal, and left for dead. He heals up, comes back in, and he just wants his money. That's all he wants. And not even all the money. Everyone keeps mistaking how much money he wants. They all think it's like more, and he's like, "No, I'm only in it for my 70,000. That's all I want." And Mel Gibson carries his part of the movie very well, but the rest of the cast fits their roles really well. There's a lot of Bill Duke in it. There's a lot of just people in it for various parts. Banyan very much enjoyed. My brain's going to stop now, of course. James Coburn in his small role. Chris Christopherson's in it. I mean, it's everyone who's in it pulls their weight. Anyone who's a big role pulls their weight. Lucy Liu's in it, and it's just weird to watch because you can tell the director was trying to make his movie, which is that sort of gritty crime noir type of thing, but he ends up making, with like a studio interference, technically speaking, a much more half fun, half gritty movie that is more enjoyable than has any right to be. You like seeing Mel Gibson. He's a criminal, but he's not a bad guy. There's a lot of times he could do like just criminal things, but he doesn't. He does more closer to the right thing. You can root for him. He's not like that kind of scumbag you can't root for. And it's just fun overall. I give it 1.5 to. I would give it 1.5 space herpes. I will give the director's cut 3 space herpes.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's just not as good.
Yeah.
Not enjoyable, and also, I believe they cut out his voiceover, which I know some people don't like the narration voiceovers, but I fucking love them. Big spoiler here and contentious opinion: the theatrical cut of Blade Runner is the best cut of Blade Runner.
I've heard that a lot. I don't remember. I know I've seen both, but I don't remember it. I mean,
The main difference is Harrison Ford narrating it turns it into like a cyberpunk detective noir type of thing from what it was. Anyways, you got one more?
I do have
We
one
got
more.
one more thing to announce at the end.
I do have one more. So everybody knows I'm watching The Last of Us on HBO Max. Great adaptation of the video game, one of my top 5 video games of all time. I actually restarted playing the video game again because I wanted to play it and go through it.
Because his life's not depressing, and he needs more depression in his life.
See, to me, it's not depressing. I've already lived it. Now I'm just enjoying it and reliving the story.
Reliving the depression?
It's not depressing to me. But I will tell you, this last episode with Nick Offerman and everything going on, this was some of the best TV I've seen in years.
I've heard nothing but good from the people I would trust on that.
Okay, so I'm watching this, and you all know I'm an emotional guy. I will cry, I will cheer, I will do whatever. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're getting at this part of the story. Oh, crap, I remember this part of the story. Oh, crap, they're expanding on it. This is cool. I'm getting to learn more about the world. It's more about this character, because you only learn a little bit about it. And I'm like, oh, oh, crap. Oh, my God, he's actually getting to be happy. Oh, God. And by the time I was done, I was bawling, and not because it was just sad, because it was beautiful also. It
Awesome.
was it is some of the best TV I have seen in a long, long time. I mean, it made me go, fuck, that was good. That was really good.
Yes, Captain Mizzy. It sounds like one you need to be in the right headspace for.
Yeah. And the thing is that this is a beautiful. They expanded on the story of a character. They did change up the ending of it. So if anybody wants to know, I can talk about the ending to someone later because I don't want to spoil anything. The real ending from the video game to the TV show, I can talk about that once.
The video game ending. Let's not call it the real ending. The video game.
The video game ending of the story of these characters. But I mean, it was the acting was spot on. The setting was spot on. The characters were spot on. The way the music, I mean, everything was done. You're rooting and cheering and laughing and enjoying, and then you're bawling, and you get done and you're like, damn, that was a beautiful episode. And if they don't win something, fuck them. Fuck the people that don't get these, because these guys did everything spot on. And this is the kind of episodes that I look forward to on Last of Us, because it's not all about the zombie clickers and stuff like that. It's about humanity is what it's about. And they just expanded on that, which I'm happy for. There's nothing wrong with expanding. The story was there. You just don't hear about the story, and you don't get the full details the way they did in the TV show. But man, was it great. Zero. If I can give it negatives, I will give it negatives.
Noted at 0.
Noted at 0. I enjoyed the ever-living shit out of this. Cool. And if you don't like it, I understand why you don't like it. I understand why some scenes may be too much. But also, this was so well acted, it's not even funny.
Let me remind everyone that at the end of the day, TV and movies are art, and art is 100% subjective, so don't get too upset if someone doesn't like something you love. Yeah. It's okay.
I will give this negative 500 billion.
Look at this. Gonzo loves this, and he hates fucking Ready Player One, so, I mean, it takes
it's just time,
there. It's a balance. Subjective.
But I really, really enjoyed this. I wanted to say a big thank you to, the directors and the artists and everything, because they got what the show is about. They got what the video game is about, put it into the show, and did it correctly, and have adapted this perfectly. So I, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go watch episode 4.
Well, before we finish up here, we do have to mention that we're going to watch something that's the same this week.
Oh, yes.
Because I sent Gonzo a Battletech meme, and he did not know what a Bachal was. So, I am forcing him to watch the entirety of the Battletech cartoon, and we're going to have that and a review of that for next week. So, look forward to that.
Before Banyan, episode 2 was pretty harsh, but in a different way. It is more of your zombie apocalypse type thing. Mm-hmm. Yes, I will be watching the Battletech. I've got it saved. I can watch some of it tomorrow.
I mean, remember, we got
all week.
Basically two episodes a day, about 40-45 minutes or so. You beat through.
So we'll have to wait and see. But other than that, guys, we really appreciate y'all coming on. We appreciate you hanging out. Thank you for the kudos. Whoever, I think it was Nixie, says they enjoyed it. Yep. We appreciate that. We don't do this for the money because we don't get any. But we do this because it's a lot of fun. And we like to hang out with everybody. Other than that, guys, we'll send you to, looks like Pyro Club, unless you want to go somewhere else, John. Pyro Club's on. Well, I think they're doing some RPGing tonight. So please take care of yourself. Please watch after each other. If you see something, say something. And if you need someone to talk to, we're always here.
Always here. I am a certified emotional support human.
Guys, good night. I'm Gonzo.
Good night. I'm John.